Hi there guys, how are you all doing? Welcome back to yet another episode here on the Brazilian Expat. I hope you're all doing fantastic. Now to my new viewers, let me introduce myself. My name is Andreas Bachmann. I live here in the northeast of Brazil, where I've been living for almost 17 years now. Now I think it's pretty needless to say that I do love this country. You know, ever since I moved down here almost 17 years ago, I've never looked back. You know, I never ever thought about moving back to my own country, which is Norway, by the way. Brazil is a fantastic country. I love almost everything about it. However, of course, no country is perfect, and also there are certain cultural differences between, you know, Brazil and the rest of the world. It is something that does affect me, and there are certain things that I've never really gotten used to, and I want to put a list down of 5 things that I really do hate about Brazil. Hate is a really strong word, but there are 5 things that can really drive me crazy, and it's just 5 things that I've never ever gotten used to. And these are all personal experiences. However, I've talked with a lot of my foreign friends. They confirm the same thing. These 5 things on my list are something that, you know, you as a tourist, or you as an expat, you know, relocating here to Brazil, will definitely notice this, and will probably have a hard time, you know, coping with this situation. Now, as you can probably hear and see, it is actually raining outside. Now the weather is definitely something not on my list. I love the weather here. The climate is awesome. That is actually one of the main reasons why I actually moved down to Brazil, so it's not on my list. The only thing that's really strange is we are now in the end of July, and the rainy season here usually ends, you know, at the end of May. This year we've seen so much rain, and I've got another episode, my previous episode that I, you know, posted a couple of months ago. I explained a little bit about the difficulties that we actually have, especially at my business, how the rain, it just, you know, it just destroys everything. Because here you got to remember, we do have basically 2 seasons. We got the dry season and we got the rainy season. The dry season will basically, we should be in the dry season now, and it usually lasts until, you know, January, February, and then we got like 3 or 4 months of heavy rain. And during the dry season, you know, it's usually very dry. We got a lot of wind. We live very close to the coast, so you got all of the salt and sun and the heat as well, and it really tears, you know, on the on all of the construction material, you know, of your house, your electro-domestic products, you know, such as your refrigerator, your TV, all your electronics. You know, it really messes up a lot of stuff. So you know, as much as we need the rain, I kind of hate it, but I'm not gonna put that on my list, because, you know, in all, you know, the climate is just perfect here. It's never too hot, it's never too cold. It's perfect. That is actually one thing I love about Brazil. But anyways, I'm just gonna jump straight into the 5 things that I really don't like about Brazil. And number 1 on this list is just punctuality. Now, I don't think this comes as a surprise to a lot of you. I think that a lot of you who have, you know, done a little bit of research about Brazil and its culture, you guys probably already know that Brazilians are notorious for being late. They are never on time. And it's something that even almost after 17 years of living here in Brazil, you know, I come from a family which has always been punctual. And that is, you know, if I'm more than maybe 10 minutes late, I always, you know, call up and tell them that I'm, you know, give my excuse of why I'm late, you know, if I'm stuck in traffic or whatever. However, here in Brazil, it is really strange, because it is actually expected of you of being late, especially to social events, you know. I mean, people, they usually come on time for work and stuff like that, you know, if they need to catch a plane or anything. But I'm talking about more like social events. And of course, if you are doing business, like if you need a service, like if you need to call an electrician to fix something, if you need to call a plumber, if there's something if there's a problem with your internet, you know, and you already are given a time, a scheduled time when the technician or whatever will arrive, you can, you know, bet your ass that he is gonna be late. And it also applies to social events. It almost never fails. You know, if you're gonna have a party at 7 o'clock, everybody's gonna be showing up at 8 or 8:30. And it's really annoying because, you know, the way I'm brought up, I'm always on time. And the problem is, like, okay, if I'm throwing a party at my house, if people show up late, that's fine, you know, but it goes kind of vice versa as well, you know. When I do get invited to a party, especially if it's you know, a Brazilian, a local who's hosting the party, usually I'll show up on time. I'll be exactly on time, you know. And it's really awkward because I will be the only one there. I'll be showing up at this party, and maybe even the host, he will be actually surprised. He will say, damn, Andreas, you're here already, you know. I'm not ready because I need to take a shower, I need to go out and do the final shopping or whatever. Well, you told me to come at 8 o'clock. Yeah, I know, but you know, it's so surreal that it's and it's totally normal here. It is, you know, people will be surprised if you get invited to a party and you show up exactly on time. People will, you know, get surprised by it. They will be taken off guard. So it's really strange, and it's something that I've never ever gotten used to. Now with social events, okay, that's fine, it's nothing serious. However, it is extremely annoying, especially if you are at home and you have, you know, you need to fix something. If you have a leaking faucet, or you know, there's something wrong with the electrical, or if you know, you don't have an internet connection, and you know, you're waiting for this technician to arrive. He told you he will be there at 10 o'clock. It is already 11:30. You call him, where the hell are you, you know, and well, I'll be there maybe in an hour, or you know, it never fails. Brazilians, they are never on time. That is one thing I really hate about Brazil. I really hate it. But it's and people say, well, after 17 years you should have gotten used to it. But it's really not, because when you're brought up to be punctual, when this is like, it's like normal courtesy, right? It is almost rude to be that late. So, and it's something that I've never ever gotten accustomed to, you know, the culture of being late here in Brazil. And I think it's something that I'll never get used to. So yeah, for sure, that is number one on my list. I really hate this about Brazil. Number two on my list is Brazilian music. Now, okay, I know that, you know, everybody has their own taste, and you can't blame the Brazilians for their taste in music, you know. But it is so different than what we are used to, especially the local music here. I'm talking about, you know, I'm talking about Brazilian funk, I'm talking about forró, I'm talking about sertanejo, you know, all of these music. And, you know, I think, like, okay, for us, we should absolutely respect, you know, the Brazilians' taste in music. That is up to them. This is, you know, the music they grew up with. This is the music they grew up to like. The reason why it's on my list is just because you are forced to listen to this music almost wherever you go, okay? And there's one thing that I really hate about Brazil, and that is, like, this weekend I actually went out to this beach party, this really nice beach party, you know, with my girlfriend. And there was this guy, he was sitting right beside us on the table. He was all alone. He had this big, you know, these big boom boxes, that you you know, portable sound systems that you can just connect via Bluetooth to your phone. He had one of these on the table. He was blasting out this Brazilian funk or forró, whatever, for everybody just to listen to. And it was so loud, it was actually almost difficult just to talk with my girlfriend, and it really pisses me off because I think that it is extremely inconsiderate that I gotta, you know, be forced to listen to this music when I want to go out somewhere and, you know, and relax. Now you can argue that, well, when you got there you could have, you know, you could have gone another place. Well, when we arrived there, this guy, he wasn't already there, you know, so it was already a really nice quiet place. They were, you know, playing some really nice lounge music, you know, this really chill music on the speakers of the place itself. But you know, after about an hour, this guy came along and he just figured out, well, he doesn't care, so he's just gonna blast out all of this Brazilian music, you know, for everybody to listen to. Now, I've got this similar problem at my bed and breakfast as well. A lot of my guests, my Brazilian guests, you know, they will come check in at my bed and breakfast. They will lounge by the pool. They will have the same sound system and they will start playing music. However, I do have a zero tolerance for playing music at my property, and I do, you know, communicate this upon checking in, that I do have a zero tolerance of music. However, there are certain individuals that, you know, that are extremely entitled and think that, you know, these rules don't apply to them, especially Brazilians after having a few beers. You know, it's extremely hard for them not to have some kind of, you know, of this Brazilian funk playing in the background. You know, for some reason they cannot enjoy themselves without this type of music. Apart from that, it's also the neighbors here, you know, especially a lot of my neighbors, they have like they don't actually live at these houses. They it's like a holiday home, so they come here during the weekends and they just blast out this music until, you know, midnight, and it's extremely annoying. If it was like some kind of music that I truly enjoyed, okay, maybe, you know, it would help a little bit, but still, I just don't think, I still think it's a little bit inconsiderate, you know, just blasting out that you really are forced to listen to this music all day long wherever you go. So I don't know, maybe it's not because of the music itself, you know, maybe it's because of people being inconsiderate. I don't know. It is a cultural thing here. Like at that restaurant, at that beach bar, none of the staff, they would actually go up to him and tell him to turn down the volume, because it's just so normal here. People just do it, you know. So I don't know if this is the correct term to put on my list, that it's the music's fault. But anyways, I really don't like this style of music, and the just of the fact that that I'm being forced to listen to it wherever I go, it really annoys me. And that's it, that's on my list anyways. So I'm sorry to my Brazilian friends, but I really don't like your music, sorry. Number 3 on my list is just the poor quality of services in general here in Brazil. Now, what I mean by this is just like, if you're gonna build a house, if you you know, you need an electrician to do the electric installments or whatever, everything is just rubbish here, okay? And you really need to pay attention, because one of my biggest expenditures here in Brazil at my business, in my bed and breakfast, is basically just, I basically paid to construct my entire business 2 times over. And that has just because, you know, when I came here, I was naive. I had no idea. I thought, you know, when you call somebody, you know, a guy who's gonna build something for you or do the electric installments, you know, you kind of like, you basically take his word for it that he knows what he's doing. But that is rarely the case. You really need to be aware here of who you are, you know, contracting either to do any sort of construction or any electrical work or any plumbing or whatsoever. Electrical, I've already redone it like 3 times. I finally found a good electrician, and he found a bunch of problems, and actually it was basically a fire hazard. So I spent a crap load of money, you know, redoing all of these electrical works, which is sorted now, thankfully. A couple of years ago, I had a leak inside the walls, you know, where all the plumbing was. It was just like really poorly constructed, and one of the PVC pipes, you know, the water pipes, it sprung a leak inside the walls, and I basically had to tear down one of the entire bathrooms, you know, and do everything over again, re-tiles, you know, do all the tile work and everything. And it cost me a lot of money because I couldn't rent out the room, and besides that, you know, I had to pay for some guy to do all of the work, and of course all of the tiles, all of the construction materials. So it was a very costly affair. That is another thing. You talk about like telephones and internet and all of that stuff, it all, you know, it never fails. I get cut off all of the time, and not to talk about the blackouts that we have with our energy as well, you know. There's no use complaining to the electrical company, you know. It is just no use. So it is stuff like that, you know. The quality of the services here are just really ridiculous, and like, I know it's really hard for somebody who has never been to Brazil, or maybe is constructing a house for the very first time, or, you know, starting a business, which is really critical. You know, you want to make sure that after you open up your business that you don't have to close it again because, you know, there's gonna be something wrong with the electrical or whatever, you know. So you really need to pay attention, and yeah, that's about it. I mean, that is number 3 on my list. Something that I really hate about Brazil is that, you know, you never know really what you're gonna get when you hire somebody to do any sort of work, or, you know, any sort of services. So unfortunately, that is how it is. Number 4 on my list is Brazilian drivers. Now, okay, I'm sorry guys, not all Brazilian drivers are absolutely crazy. However, the majority are, unfortunately. If you are one of those guys, you know, who appear on Road Rage America and, you know, all of these YouTube channels, you know, if you are the one that just loses your shit every time you get cut off, or if somebody's tailgating you, then guys, you have no business driving here in Brazil, because after a day you're gonna have a heart attack if you're gonna drive here in Brazil, okay? So I'm one of those guys. I get really stressed out, and this is actually one place that I've gotten a little bit better. And unfortunately though, I'm taking all of these habits here, because I'm so used to driving here in Brazil, taking them back home to when I go back to visit my mother in Norway. And I kind of, you know, I kind of drive like an idiot there in Norway because I'm so used to it. I've adapted to the way of driving here in Brazil. The way that things work here in Brazil is like, of course, here you have your traffic, you have the rules of the road, you have your traffic regulations and all of that stuff. The thing is, nobody really gives a damn, you know. It's people here, they do exactly what they want. Here it's really strange, because here either they're just speeding, or they're going too slow, or, you know, they're running red lights. They are going, you know, one-way roads. They'll head up the wrong way because it's too much of a hassle going the other way. A lot of times I see in the big cities as well, parking space is a huge issue in the big city. And a lot of times, you know, all of these guys, instead of just parking in a public parking space that'll probably be 2 or 3 blocks away from whatever store or whatever office they need to go to, yeah, they'll just leave their car smack in the middle of the road, turn on their emergency lights, and they'll block everybody else. So in the big cities, it's basically just one big traffic jam. You know, it's just like a gridlock from 8 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock at night, you know, when everybody is coming back home from work. And that is also one reason why I don't live in the big cities here in Brazil, because it's just a constant traffic jam and it drives me insane. However, a lot of this could be avoided if people just start, you know, being a little bit more considerate. If you are, you know, heading out, you're trying to get out on the main road, there's a lot of traffic, nobody is going to stop for you, nobody is going to give way. You kind of need to just, you know, crawl slowly your way into the intersection until you actually start blocking, you know, the traffic, and then you just need to go, because if not, you'll just be standing there forever and nobody is going to let you in. And believe me, the guys behind you, standing in line behind you, they are going to get impatient, they're going to start honking their horn, and you know, you're just going to get stressed. So just, it takes quite a while to get used to the traffic, to the way of driving here in Brazil. You got to be constantly vigilant, you got to be aware of your surroundings at all times. This could actually be also on my list, but I choose to put it together with the bad drivers, is also the state of the roads here is shit. I mean, they're just, it's such a poor quality, and it is downright dangerous. You know, even on the freeways there can be big potholes that, you know, you come in a high, if you got a high speed coming in on the freeway at night and you hit one of these potholes, it could easily flip your car and you could have a serious accident. So it is just like driving, and the roads here in Brazil is just a nightmare. So that is one thing I really hate about Brazil. Okay, so number 5, the final item on my list, is just inefficiency here in Brazil. Now this is kind of hard to explain. I'll try to give a few examples. But basically, one thing is that there are so many holidays here in Brazil that I kind of lost track. For me personally, how this affects me personally, while I'm doing business, because I do run a bed and breakfast here in Brazil, and you know, things happen. It can be problems, electrical problems, or it can be something with the plumbing, or my air conditioning needs maintenance, or something with the pool, whatever. Sometimes I do need to call a technician. Like you know, a good example would be just like a couple of months ago, I actually purchased, you know, 2 brand new flat screen TVs for 2 of my biggest rooms, the suites. And one of these TVs, unfortunately, it lasted around 3 days and it just stopped working altogether. Now, of course, it is within the warranty period, so I went back to the store, had a talk with them, and they basically told me they're going to send out a technician to have a look at it. And I said, fine, so when is this technician coming? And they told me anywhere between 1 and 2 months. I told you got to be crazy, because I've got this room fully booked, you know, I got clients coming in. But no, that was their time frame that they could give me. So anywhere between 1 or 4 to 8 weeks. He actually just arrived last week. However, before he arrived, he actually sent me a message and told me, well, tomorrow I'm gonna be, you know, heading over to your bed and breakfast to have a look at the TV, and you know, I'm gonna bring all of my tools, so I'll fix the TV there on the spot. If I can't fix it there on the spot, then we'll just change out your entire TV. So I said, fine, so what time are you getting here tomorrow? He basically told me I'll be there anywhere between 8 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock at night. Again, extremely frustrating, because that's basically your entire day that you got to be at home waiting for this guy to show up. Now, I can't ask of any of my staff, you know, to stand around there waiting for him, because they are busy doing other stuff. So unfortunately, that's got to be me who's got to sit at home and wait all day long for this technician to arrive. Luckily, he arrived quite early, at around 10 o'clock in the morning, so that was fine. But still, I couldn't plan anything else for the remainder of that day, because he might as well just have, you know, arrived at the bed and breakfast around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So You know, that is one thing. And here in Brazil, you have all of these holidays. I keep losing track. They have holidays here for basically everything. Some of these holidays they close down everything. Some of these holidays they close only half a day, you know, so they'll work, you know, they'll work until lunchtime and then they'll close for the remainder of the day. Other days they'll just be, you know, it'll be like a normal working day. So but you never know, and I keep losing track of all of these holidays, and it's like it never fails. Every single time I need to go and fix something or I need to go and buy something, it is a public holiday. Nothing's working, you know. So it is just extremely inefficient. And all of these other stuff that I've already mentioned on my list as well, just being punctual, you know, and the way that just the way that they work, the way that they do business here, the poor state of the roads, everything, it just contributes to the entire inefficiency that Brazil is currently operating in. And it's a shame because you know, to get business done here, there are so many really good opportunities for you to do business here, but the system is so extremely inefficient that it is basically a nightmare. And this is also one of the things I really hate about living here in Brazil. So that is my 5 things, the 5 things that I think that affect me the most, that really, you know, that really gets to me the most. You know, your experience, it might be very different. However, I think that these 5 things, these are probably 5 things that you will notice quite soon coming down here. You know, if it's either like a tourist and you're gonna stay a couple of weeks, you're probably not gonna notice any of these items on my list so much. However, if you're planning to relocate, you know, maybe staying for a year, or you know, you're moving here permanently, then definitely I think that you are going to be affected by these 5 things on my list. Now, so what can you actually do just to make your life a little bit easier down here in Brazil? Now, these 5 things on my list, you know, there are a lot of things that you can do yourself to actually try and avoid too much frustration. Okay, the first thing on my list, obviously, when people are not punctual, the one that I say is, you know, usually what I try to do now is whenever I invite people over, if I want people to be there at 7 o'clock, you know, in the evening, I will tell them, usually I will just tell them to be, you know, to be there at 6 o'clock, because usually people have a tendency to show up, you know, an hour late here in Brazil. So usually I keep that in the back of my mind, that everybody's going to be late. If I want the, you know, if I want the event, the party to start at around 7 o'clock, I'll tell everybody you can come here at 6 o'clock. Some of them are more punctual than others, and if they are, you know, I'll make sure to have everything ready so they can sit around and wait and be comfortable. But it rarely happens. Usually they'll come an hour late, and that applies the other way as well. If you do get invited to a party, don't worry, relax, just take it easy. At least be, you know, 30 minutes late. That would be my tip, you know, or else you're just gonna come, you're gonna arrive at this party, you're gonna be the only one there sitting around, just feeling like an idiot. Of course, if you got a lot of foreign friends like I do here, that's I know that a lot of those are still very punctual. So depending on who invites you, you know, but you really, after a while, after living here, you get to know your friends quite well, and you kind of know who is going to turn up late and who's going to be more punctual. So, and if you do plan to drive here in Brazil, I mean, it is highly recommended. If you do relocate to Brazil, you know, it is highly recommended you get a car, because, you know, public transport here is, it's maybe not the safest, especially if you are a foreigner. Of course, in the big cities, you got all of your cheap Uber drivers and whatnot. However, I do recommend that you do get used to driving here in Brazil. Now, like I told you, if you are that kind of guy who really gets stressed out and have a tendency for developing road rage, you know, maybe you should reconsider. But anyways, I can give you a few tips of what you can do just to try not to let it affect you too much. And that is just try avoiding driving in rush hour, and that is basically early in the morning, between 7-8 o'clock in the morning. Around lunchtime here in Brazil, the work days is usually, you know, from 8 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock at night, and they have like a 2-hour lunch where everybody goes home. So that's another rush hour time, you know, smack in the middle of the day. So you got early in the morning, middle of the day, and of course in the evening around between 6 and 8 o'clock. That is when it's going to be the heaviest traffic. That is the times that you probably want to avoid. Also, you gotta stay calm, okay? I mean, the urge is there. I know for a lot of us, we really get pissed off when somebody cuts us off, or, you know, the style of driving here is just completely different, and people will cut you off. People are really inconsiderate here in traffic. You know, the urge to give somebody the middle finger, I've had it so many times, but don't do it, because, you know, giving the wrong guy here the middle finger, it can get you into some serious trouble. So my best tip is just stay calm, suck it up, you know, and count to 10, and just go on with your day, okay? This is something you really need to get used to. And like I said, try also avoid driving at night, especially, you know, outside of the cities where it's poorly illuminated, because like I said, the conditions on the roads here are horrific, and you can get into a serious accident so easily. So that is one tip to avoid, you know, too many issues driving here in Brazil. And my best advice for you to avoid the frustrations, like having to do stuff, you know, redo stuff that something was poorly, you know, installed, or the service was shit. So it's basically, you know, I think the most important thing is that you talk with, the first thing that you should do is you should, you know, get recommendations, of course. Talk with a lot of your friends. If you make a lot of friends down here in Brazil, talk with them, see if they can recommend, you know, a good electrician, a good mercenary, a good, you know, whatever, a good internet provider, you know. Unfortunately, the electricity, that you cannot choose the provider there, but, you know, at least your internet provider, your telephone provider, all of that stuff is in your control, and you can have a talk with your friends and see what they recommend, okay? That is my best tip to avoid as many problems in the future. Also, a big mistake that I did is that, you know, I had my business in Norway, and I actually left Brazil while the guys were working at my bed and breakfast. So, you know, it is very tempting to some of these guys just to, you know, maybe not put so much cement into the cement mix, and it's just a poor quality of cement, and they just do a shitty service when the owner itself is not present, you know. So that's another tip for me, is just be present, be at the property, have a look at, constantly be surveilling the work that is being done at your property. That is one tip I can give to avoid that. And the last one, with the inefficiency here in Brazil. Like, guys, it's really hard to do something about this. This is something that's, I think that, you know, this is gonna be a problem, or it's gonna be an issue in your everyday life moving here to Brazil, unfortunately. There is not really much you can do about it. The one thing that I would, you know, really do is just keep a calendar, keep a track of all the public holidays here, so you know whenever the businesses are usually open and when they're closed, you know. But other than that, there's not really much you can prepare for it, because you know that if you're gonna contract somebody, they are gonna be late. Nobody's gonna give you a specific time, you know. Even if you agree with somebody that, you know, he's gonna come to your property at 12 o'clock, he's probably gonna be there at 2-3 hours late or whatever. You know, it's just how it is here, and it's something that, you know, you really just need to accept it, and there's not really much you can do to prepare for it, okay? The only thing you just need to keep in mind is, like, if you are doing any sort of work, or if you are having a meeting with whoever it is, it can be a lawyer, or it can be with a construction worker, electrician, or whatever, just know that when you actually agree on a time with him, I would just keep the rest of my day open, because you know that it's probably gonna turn up late. That's just how it is, guys. That is my 5 things that really bother me here in Brazil, and something that I really have a hard time getting used to. But like I mentioned before, this might not affect you that much. It depends on if you just come here to live, if you come here to retire, or if you're gonna open up a business. For sure you're gonna be affected by these things here. So that was my take on that, the 5 things I really hate about Brazil. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was somewhat helpful, just to get you a little bit prepared, your mindset when coming to Brazil. Again, to my Brazilian friends, this is not meant as criticism, maybe a little bit in some aspects. I think, Brazil it could improve so much more, be so much more efficient. Brazil is an amazing country. I kind of feel bad just because, it is so inefficient, because Brazil, in my opinion, it could be like the superpower of the world. It's a country with so many resources, and they could up the quality of living so easily here in Brazil if people would just be more efficient and got rid of corruption and all that stuff. But that is for another topic, I guess. But by all means, I love Brazil. I think it's awesome here. The pros outweigh by far all of the cons living down here in Brazil. These are just a few things on my list that really irritate me day to day, that I wish would improve. But anyways, thanks so much, guys. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and of course, if you haven't already done so, you can consider subscribing to my channel. It really helps me out. Until the next one, guys, stay safe, and hopefully I'll see you soon down here in Brazil. Take care. Ciao.